the machine. Angry kid, bad at every level, calling out the kings and the fish and lady devils. Paradise is burning down, words of paradise, burning down the town. He talks, he fights, he stays up through the night. Paradise is burning down, words of paradise, he wears a digital crown.
Welcome back to the Countercast. How are all you vital idols doing? Yes, unfortunately, no Cindy today. She has had one fuck of a run of it when it comes to PC issues and also some AC issues. And frankly, it's 90 fucking degrees where I am in the Midwest. God knows how hot it is in the fucking South. It was a fucking 110 in Minnesota today. What can I say? I was not going to have people be sitting in their hot ass fucking rooms with the computers on and shit, getting all aired out and whatnot. But hey, what can I say? At least we're better than the Brits. Like I said, it's 90 degrees where I am, and I'm feeling good because I got AC. I got air conditioning. Sucks to suck, British people. That being said, we're going to have a good show. We're going to have a good show. Shout out to the pre-stream legend that is CFH90, the OG Cowboy from Hell, coming in hot, starting us off with 5 gifted Words of Paradise memberships. You love to see it, which means 5 new potential vital idols, 5 new members for the Discord. What up? I got to start off with giving you a clip, homie. You absolute legend.
I'm loving the game. The game would absolutely get a pretty high score from me.
How many bananas?
A solid 8.5 incher for sure.
No.
And wouldn't it be nice to live together?
Again, shout out. Thank you so much, CFH. Who we got up in here? Jack SG2s is here. Matt Stanford, St. Hugo, CFH90. Again, shout out. Thank you so much. Lithium Lux Eterna holding it down over on Kick. Edmund Wubber is here. I see Eagle Lord, Yamato, shout out. Junebug May Cry, the Book of Grudges. How's it going to you indeed? The Runaway Vagabond. Hail, sir. Setzers, think you might be new. Welcome to the party. Don't recognize the name. Lethal Weeaboo up in this bitch holding down on Kick. Michael Vargas, the True Aztec Warrior. Oh, we got a Hypno Raid. Shout out from the Hypno Raid. Thank you so much. Hypno means the absolute world to me. Truly appreciate it. Also, True Aztec, I did see that $1 too. Thank you so much. Mr. Melancholy is here. Hani Maui, what is up? The late plug of Muddy Waters. Again, thank you for the dollar. True Aztec Warrior. Yeah, we was biggest and shit. Anthony Way is here. Too Cool Curry. Yes, guys, it's going to be a good day. Asmongold broke out the potato can. Asmongold broke out the potato can. So you know we got some shit to say. But before that, there was some breaking news. Hey, thank you so much for the sub, Clipper. Guys, there was some breaking news. This was not originally on the docket for today. This news broke an hour ago. And I've been distraught since I learned about it 8 minutes ago. I want some of y'all might need to clutch some pearls. It's going to be rough. Live action Persona series is in the work at Netflix. Christopher Monfay, Star Trek Picard, will serve as showrunner. And it is real. And it is real. This is not the only source. I found several sources on this. Guys, who asked for this? Who the fuck asked for this? Persona live action TV adaptation in the works at Netflix, 21 Laps and Story Kitchen to produce. What the fuck are we doing, guys? What the fuck are we doing? Just get out of here, stupid ads. Netflix is developing a live action series based on the Persona video game franchise. Variety has learned from sources. Christopher Monfay is attached to write the adaptation in addition to serving as executive producer and showrunner. Sean Levy and Robert Atwood of 21 Laps will also executive produce alongside Demetrium Johnson, Michael Lawrence Goldberg, and Timothy I. Stevenson via Story Kitchen. Toru Nakahara of Sega will executive produce as well. 21 Laps is currently under an overall TV deal with Netflix. And that is all we have. Netflix declined to comment. Oh, it's not all we have. Oh, it's not. I saw the ad and I thought it was the end. Persona has proven to be a widely popular RPG franchise. While the plot varies game to game, they typically focus on Japanese high school students who must go through normal daily routines and build and maintain friendships while also dealing with supernatural threats. Developed by Peace Studios, a division of Atlas, and published by Sega, there have been 6 main entries in the Persona franchise to date, with the 7th entry, Persona Fix, officially confirmed to be in the works in June 2026. There are also 15 related spin-offs in the franchise. The games originate as a spin-off of the Japanese. We all know this. Shin Megami Tensei, whatever. Should it move forward, this would not be the first Netflix series based on a video game IP. The series produced The Witcher, Arcane, Cyberpunk, Tomb Raider, Legend of Lara Croft. So great. None of these good. Like people like the first couple seasons of The Witcher, and then it falls to shit. Arcane, first season. To be fair, I guess people do like Cyberpunk Headrunners. I've never seen it. Everyone hated Legend of Lara Croft. Everyone hated where The Witcher went. Everyone hated Arcane season 2. So, like, this is terrible. You know why this is terrible? You know, like, Persona, they said it above. Persona, focuses on high schoolers maintaining like their relationship status, and not relationship status and romance. All of that is a small part of it, but like their societal and relationship status during the day, while fighting demons and stuff in an otherworldly land at night. Netflix is going to gay this shit up. And I don't mean literally gay this shit up. I mean, they're going to turn it into like a CW style high school drama. They're going to focus on all the social link aspects. And you're going to have like maybe 5 minutes per episode when they're in the other world kicking demon ass and shit. This is like the perfect IP to have for Netflix to spoil and just turn it into some sort of teen drama. It's also so intrinsically Japanese. There is no way I trust Netflix to do it right. Like that was a whole lot of not Asian names, minus the one dude from Sega that they had working on this. Whole lot of not Asian names. Persona is one of the most intrinsically Japanese IPs and I play a lot of JRPGs, bro. I play a lot of JRPGs. Dragon Quest, Final Fantasy, Persona, Suikoden. I mean, the list goes on and fucking on. Persona is one of the most just straight up Japanese motherfuckers you could possibly play. And this, they are not going to hold true to that. On the TV side, 21 Monfay is previously written for shows like 12 Monkeys at Sci-Fi, Star Trek Picard. Great. Awesome. 911 from Fox and ABC. He's also attached as writer and co-executive producer for the upcoming Marvel Disney Plus series Vision Quest. Yes, that's what everybody wants. Vision Quest. On the TV side, 21 Laps has famously produced the mega Netflix series Stranger Things. Oh, awesome. Awesome. Producers at Stranger Things are the ones doing the Persona series. That's what we fucking want. Recently concluded after 5 blockbuster seasons of the streamer, the show helped put Netflix originals on the map and helped prove streaming series could be as successful, if not more, than shows on traditional outlets. 21 Laps also been behind shows like The Perfect Couple and Last Man Standing. Okay, to be fair, Last Man Standing is actually very good. Last Man Standing is actually very good. But that doesn't mean I want these folk working on a fucking Persona show. While the company's also produced successful films, including recent hit Backrooms and Deadpool and Wolverine, with Levy having directed and co-wrote the latter film. And that's the look. Sean Levy is not even necessarily a bad writer, bad director. Because he's, if I recall, he's also like the dude that did the Hangover movies. But when you think of Persona, do you think of, oh yeah, I want the guy that made Deadpool and Wolverine and the Hangover to make Persona? No, I fucking don't. Every single red flag is already here. Netflix is a red flag. The fact that it's being produced mostly as an American production is a red flag. The fact that Persona is an intrinsically Japanese production and this has got almost nothing attached to it when it comes to Sega, minus one executive producer. There is, I cannot find any even potential saving grace here. Story Kitchen was founded in 2022 by Sonic the Hedgehog producer Johnson and former agency partner Goldberg. The fuck? What's going on here? Why is this fucking website? With veteran production executive Stevenson and creative executive Elena Sandoval. The company specializes in adaptations of video games and other non-traditional IP in television and film. What do you mean non-traditional IP? Like, video games are at this point traditional IP. We've had video games as mainline IPs since the 80s. Shut the fuck up. The current slate includes a live-action Tomb Raider series, the live-action take on Life is Strange, both of which are set at Amazon Prime Video. Life is Strange, going to be gay as fuck, but at least it's going to be on Amazon, which so it works. Month A is rep by Industry Entertainment. 21 Labs is rep by WME, Zephyr, Bread M, Story Kid. And so there we go. There we have it. We're getting live-action Persona. And by the way, we're getting live-action Persona. And the only thing any of these motherfuckers know is Persona 5. Persona 5 is not the end-all be-all Persona. Now, it is what they've been milking like a motherfucker. That Persona 5 is what Atlas has been milking to make their shit. Not only do you have Persona 5, you have Persona 5 Strikers, you have Persona 5, the little chibi one I'm forgetting the name of. You got Persona 5, the Phantom X, the Persona Gacha game. Like, they've milked the shit out of Persona 5. Now I love Persona 5. I'm not a hater. Persona 5 is actually my favorite Persona. But point is, that is all anyone knows. Anyone in like the mainstream, that is. So they're either going to straight up try and adapt that. No reason to do that. We've already had an anime. Not very good, by the way. Persona 5 anime is just kind of eh. But anyway, we've already had the anime. So they're going to just straight up adapt Persona 5, or they're, God forbid, going to do an all original Persona story. Can you imagine modern day Hollywood doing an all original Persona story? That's where we're at, crew. That's where we're at. So yeah, that was the breaking news. It was not originally on the docket to even be talked about today, but I felt like, well, I learned this. You have to as well. Alrighty. I saw a couple of soups come in. Let's hit those. Shout out to El Murbot with a 2-banger. Suffer, Leon. This is how I feel about One Piece. No, there's a difference here. Now, you can dislike One Piece. You can. I get that you dislike the live-action One Piece. But Eiichiro Oda is in full control. So if you dislike what live-action One Piece does, at that point, you're going against the original creator. Which, hey, you're fine to do. You're cool to do that, but this isn't the same. There was literally no indication whatsoever that the actual minds behind Persona are involved in this. So it actually isn't the same. And then Mervot with another 2-banger. Edge Runners is great, thanks to Studio Trigger. I've never seen Edge Runners. I've also never played the Cyberpunk 2077 game, so I can't really speak too much on it. Maybe it is great, not sure. But yeah, people told me to watch it. I don't really know much about the Cyberpunk world, so yeah, I will say that Studio Trigger probably did do their homework. A kick in the nuts with a 2-banger says, I'm late, text. No worries. You just missed Heartbreak. That's it. You just missed Heartbreak. Anyway, alrighty. Let's see. Let's go. Cyberpunk, you're not missing anything. I mean, I would actually like to play Cyberpunk, but it's not high on my priority list. Hassan jacks off to Asmongold. That's a dope ass name. Thanks for showing up on Kick. That's awesome. I don't trust Hollywood these days. Nobody does. That's the point. They're going to use a game to go off of. I don't know. Maybe they are. Maybe they're not. Again, Cyberpunk Edge Runners, to my knowledge, is an all original story. Just use the Cyberpunk name. Not necessarily a big deal. But that's what they do. I think Lara Croft did the same thing. The Lara Croft show didn't go off of any particular game. Yes, you do need to play P5 Royal. It's incredible. It is absolutely incredible. Anyway, so yeah, at this point, that's where we're at. Making a live action Persona. I'm distraught. I'm hurt. My inside feely parts are feeling bad. Let's get to today's content proper. Asmongold broke out the potato cam. I clicked on it. I heard him go, let's talk about where wokeness comes from. I paused it and I thought, stream. Let's do it.
Hi, today I want to talk to you all about wokeness and where I think it came from. So a lot of people don't.
Where it came from, and here's the thing. Y'all know, I like Asmongold. I do. I think Asmongold's a good dude. I think he's going to be wrong about this. I do not think Asmongold has been ingratiated in the culture war long enough to actually know the long and storied history behind it. Now, I do think he was probably going to come to a lot of the correct conclusions about like the effects of wokeness and whatnot. But here's the dealio. Wokeness came from a convergence of communist and post-Marxist ideologies that wormed its way into the educational system in roughly the 80s, give or take. You can even maybe track it back to the 60s, but definitely the 80s. And slowly but surely, they gained institutional power. And as they gained that institutional power, they kept brainwashing more and more generations of students coming to these universities and then putting them out there into other places of institutional power, be it politics, be it writing rooms, be it control over businesses, whatever it may be, to the point where you have this ideology that has been in the works for the long game to take over the world and force the world, at least the first world, to capitulate to the same one world globalist ideology. That is where it came from. And there's a lot of people in control, and there's even more, far more useful idiots that don't know this. But let's see what Asmongold has to say.
Don't really understand how all these things came together and how we experience probably the highest and the biggest level of censorship that at least I've experienced in my lifetime between the years of, I would say, 2014 and 2024. Now, what I find to be the most ironic about this is that the main thesis of what I'm going to be talking about is the way that you created the unholy matrimony, the unholy trinity between ideologically captured media, bad faith capitalism, and mentally ill activism.
Okay. To be fair, I would say that is an unholy trinity. It hasn't really touched on the academic aspect yet, but you know what? That would be the unholy trinity. I will give him credit there.
And these things put together all created an apparatus that I want to construct and then deconstruct and talk to you all about how it actually maintained power and how it manifested and projected that power throughout the entire internet. So fundamentally, what I find to be the most ironic about all of this is that the main people that are the biggest social justice warriors, the biggest woke people, the people that care so much about all of these different issues, almost every single one of them hate capitalism. But in an ironic sense, none of their ideology would have ever been tolerated by anybody if capitalism wasn't there that was insulating it from criticism.
Correct. Well, okay, sort of correct. No, it would have never been tolerated or perpetuated in the West, specifically in America, because these are Marxist ideas. These ideologies did, in fact, come out of communist regimes, or at least attempted communist regimes, for many, many years. That being said, we all see how communism ends. We can just open a fucking history book. But yes, these ideas and ideologies never would have been tolerated if it were not in America and other Western, other first world Western countries. If there was not some sort of capitalist market that could ironically exploit them.
And I want to talk about why that happened. So we're going to go back. We're going to go way back to 2010 to 2014. It depends on how you want to define it. But
you know what? I think that's a good place to start. Obviously, it started before that. We've talked about it on here. It started in the 80s, 60s. Some you can take back to the 50s, 40s, 30s. But let's just say the true origin point for it maintaining or for it gaining institutional power in the West, let's say, is the 80s. 2010 to 2014 is a good starting point because that's when you've got Occupy Wall Street and Gamergate, which were flashpoint moments for these ideas becoming mainstream outside of the institutional bubble. So I think that actually is a good starting point.
That's where I would really start the beginning. So that's whenever you started seeing terms of service on websites. That's whenever you started seeing words that you couldn't say. That's whenever, instead of telling people, if you don't like it, don't look at it, instead of that, you decided to instead tell people, if you don't like it, then nobody can look at it. Why did these things change? What happened? Why was it that a place like Reddit, for example, that was the open bastion of free speech, suddenly changed?
And that's true. Bro, in 2026, we shit on Reddit, right? Reddit is commie central. They put red in the name. A lot of folk don't realize that is not the case. Reddit used to be just like 4chan in terms of its sheer unhinged just buffoonery. Reddit really was the free speech bastion of the internet. The entire concept of Reddit was founded around the idea of zero moderation, for one. No moderation. People just democratically voting on what they did and didn't want to see. You on the front page of Reddit, it's because you earned it. People read your shit, gave you the little upvotes, whatever. Like, the idea of Reddit was the true democratization of what people wanted to see on the internet. And yes, that is not fair. Reddit says I'm a bigot. Yeah, Reddit does in fact say I'm on lists on Reddit. I'm on lists of anti-woke grifter channels not to watch on Reddit. It's fucking hilarious. Like Reddit don't like me. Reddit don't like Hypno. Reddit don't like Asmongold. Reddit don't like Nerdrotic. You know, the list goes on and fucking on. But yes, needless to say, Reddit as it is now is a complete twisted evil inversion of what it used to be, to the point where like the original founders and CEOs of Reddit went against the US government in their anti-censorship crusades. Like, the government tried to censor Reddit on multiple instances, and Reddit fought back and won.
And then allowed itself to be completely colonized by a small manufactured minority of people and a manufactured consensus of ideas.
And governments and government operatives, by the way. Like, he is correct about it being a consensus of minority ideas. A lot of this are government operatives. A lot of what made Reddit change, and you could verifiably confirm this. In fact, this might make for a good tinfoil haters episode, depending on it. There's a full episode's worth there. Is the psyop that is the government infiltrating Reddit and becoming lead moderators. You've got several people in the CIA, FBI, whatnot, that have become lead moderators all over Reddit. That way they can use that as a way to propagate their communist Marxist ideas.
That is really not representative of their user base or really of anybody in real life either. How did this happen? And I'll tell you exactly how it happened. It's actually very simple. It happened because of money. So what happened between 2010 and 2014? You started getting a lot of ads. You started getting a lot of advertisements. You started getting a lot of, ways that these companies and these websites were basically making money. And if you look at this on the stock market for any of these different companies, this is very clearly the growth period of their business. This is whenever they started really making a lot of money, because a lot of people falsely attribute the woke era to something that was happening during COVID, which I think was the fever pitch, but it wasn't the entire disease.
It's correct.
The disease actually started between 2010 and 2014, and it was manifested by advertising and then companies wanting to make.
So was people posting CP and Reddit on 4chan as psyop? Yes, it probably a bit of both, honestly. Probably a bit of both. People posting CP and CP on Reddit and 4chan was a mix of government psyop and just sick fuckers out there abusing the lack of moderation.
Maintain that advertising money in order to maintain the to maintain the advertisements to continue making more money. So what happened is that you had these activists and people that are working inside of media companies, and then the media companies are running smear campaigns. They're talking about how, this website is allowing, racism or dangerous language or X or Y thing. And we're not even talking about the COVID era, by the way. Keep this in mind. This is back in the,
Yeah, again, this is Gamergate and pre-Gamergate. I don't know how big of my audience is, like, in terms of those of you guys that were around for the OG Gamergate. I say it all the time. I was like, OG Gamergate is the reason I am here. This is the reason I'm on YouTube. So for anybody that remembers, just we the OGs. I feel you.
Gamergate, even
I'm old, Yusuke.
pre-Gamergate era, this is when these things were happening. So what really was going on is that they kept making articles and they kept saying that, like, oh, this website is allowing X, Y, and Z content, and it's horrible that this is happening. Then there was a harassment and a advocacy campaign that pushed the advertisers that were advertising on the website, that was basically egged on by these ideologically captured media apparatuses and individuals too, to put...
Now, only half ideologically captured. Only half. Yes, there's ideological capture for sure, but those are the useful idiots. The other half, financially captured. You got BlackRock and you got the state and whatnot coming in, giving a lot of money, saying, we want things ran this way because this will further our agenda. What you call it, World Economic Forum, call it New World Order, call it Illuminati, whatever you want. That was a key factor. So you had the money and you had the useful idiots, and there's obviously a Venn diagram of the two.
Pressure on these companies, because companies, you have to admit, you have to understand, I mean, are they're not moral, they're not immoral, they're amoral. If Hitler won World War II, most of these companies would be selling swastikas.
Correct.
And it's important to always remember that. When a company thinks that your social cause or your social opinion is the correct social opinion, the odds are it's because they think they can make money off of it.
That is why we have Pride Month. Pride Month is not out there so the dudes that fuck assholes can sit there and be proud and scream from the rooftops that they love putting their dicks in assholes. That is not what Pride Month is for. Pride Month is for the gay for pay corporatists. That's what it is. It's so that fucking Target can get out there and try and make a bunch of money off the fad that is homoeroticism. Lo and behold, turns out normal folk don't like that too terribly much, especially when you start getting kids involved. But they thought they made money off it, and for a long time they were. So,
you, if they tell you that. That's the only reason. Why do you think they all care about Pride? Well, it's because they can sell something with a rainbow on it. So anyway, these companies care about money. And so what happened is that the media apparatus created and manufactured a false consensus that everybody was upset and angry about these types of behaviors, right? Everybody was upset about this. People were super mad. And now these companies have to take action. They have to do something. They have to act. And this is what's happening also, by the way, it happened inside of mainstream media as well. You saw different shows that were, pushing ideologies that were not necessarily what people accepted in terms of, culturally acceptable. And
you had Tucker Carlson getting fired from Fox News. His number one, and by the way, this is not a defense of Tucker Carlson. Y'all know I don't like me no Tucker Carlson, but you also got to admit, 10 years ago, or whenever it was, he was fired from Fox. Probably not 10 years ago. It was probably like closer to 6 or so. But the point is, dude is on Fox News, the number one controlled opposition for the libs. And I do say controlled opposition because Fox News was just that, controlled opposition. He goes on Fox News, starts saying, yeah, it was definitely the CIA that murdered JFK. Oh, you can't have that information floating around. So needless to say, they are completely, it's funny because Tucker Carlson was in fact cut by Fox News.
I think that really, if you take a step back, think about the term brand friendly. Think about that term, brand friendly.
Shout out, Tato,
what
man.
does brand friendly almost always mean? That means at least something that is either agnostic to politics or leftist leaning. And I think that really kind of gives away the game, doesn't it? Because fundamentally, every single one of these companies always kowtows to this group of people. Now, why did they do that? Is it because they're the majority? Well, if Donald Trump won the election, it seems like that's not the case. So why actually do they get listened to?
It's almost like he's saying what I say in just about every single political stream. Donald Trump won the election by a wide fucking margin, by the way. Clearly, this is not the majority consensus, as in this leftist ideology is not the majority consensus. And if it's not the majority consensus, then there's no way to make money off it. If there's no way to make money off of it, then there's got to be something else. There's got to be some other reason that they are doing this.
It's actually extremely simple. It's because these people are very good at institutional capture, and they've done an incredibly good job at it, whether it's businesses, whether it's HR departments, whether it's media companies, or whether it's other forms of NGOs.
Whether and he left off the big one. And this is how I knew I was going to disagree with Asmongold on this. Well, not disagree, but be kind of disappointed because he left out the big one. Academia. This all starts with academia. Even before the NGOs, even before the governments, even before the businesses and the crony capitalism, it all starts with academia.
or just different media apparatuses that are third party that exist on the internet, or even individuals that are just politically minded that want to advocate for something. And I think that they're very strategic and they're very effective, and they have been. And it took a long time for people to identify this and then begin to.
And 13 Dragons is correct. The number one things humans go to war for is religion. And when you have got secular individuals whose entire religion is bowing and kowtowing to the state, this ideology that is state-sponsored becomes their religion. This ideology becomes their religion. And that is why they are willing to go to war and call you a Nazi and call you a bigot and call you a racist and more than that, call you a fucking rapist and a pedophile. All these abhorrent things, calling your job, getting you fired, all that. This to them is war over their religion, their secular religion to the state.
Countermeasures like what we have now. So anyway, all of these people have basically created this entire permission structure around language. And the permission structure around language enabled people to accept that certain things were just simply not allowed to be said. And this manufactured the ideology of being brand friendly. This could not have happened without mainstream big companies enforcing this.
Honestly, the big one's not the Jews. And here's, like, don't get me wrong, I'm anti-Israel as they come, son. I'm anti-Israel as they come. But this actually predates that. The whole commie Marxist ideology was actually not an invention of the Jews. Now I'm not saying that like the state of Israel or these that there aren't like Ashkenazi Jews that have a lot of power and whatnot that are not also in the club. But these are actually Western European ideologies from people who have no concept of how economics really work, then where all this started.
This ideology by the rule of money. If there was no money involved in any of these companies, then none of these companies would have changed. You used to be able to say the N-word on Twitch. You used to be able to say the F-word on Twitch. Do you want to know what changed? Advertisers changed. What do you think the probability is that every single company suddenly grew a conscience and wanted to make all of these different slurs against the rules at, ironically, the same time that they all got a bunch of money for advertising? What do you think the odds of that are? Well, I'd say what the odds are. It's zero. They're doing it for the advertising money. That's always what they were doing it for.
Coca-Cola never gave a fuck if you called someone a faggot, right? Coca-Cola was never like, oh, shit. Asmongold said faggot on Twitch, and now no one's going to buy Coca-Cola anymore. No, that is not how they are, because they didn't fucking care. It's also not real. Just like how it's not real that payment processors are going to should be blocking payments because, Visa, MasterCard, we don't want to be associated with porn. These porn games that are on Steam, we can't be associated with that. People are going to stop using Visa or MasterCard. Really? Because last I checked, you could use your Visa and MasterCard to play for, to pay for Playboy the entirety of my life and surely my dad and granddaddy's life. So needless to say, it's not as if they actually gave a fuck. No one's like, I'm canceling my Visa, my MasterCard because you can use it to buy Playboy. That's never fucking happened.
So why is it that these companies are listening to these people? Well, this is the two-part thing of identity capture and just basically capture in general. So you have the media companies that have been taken over by these people who want to weaponize the media companies' influence in order to push their ideology. This is relatively obvious. I think that we all know this is what happens. But then the second thing is that people that work inside of the actual companies themselves also have some of these ideologies, and they create
the people that work in these companies now were indoctrinated into these ideologies. Because you got to remember, let's say this became mainstream in academia in the 80s. Now, I get it. People always correct me. Leon, it was the 60s. It was the 40s. Yeah, fuck it. Mainstream in academia. We're going to say that mainstream in academia was the 80s. Guys, the 80s is almost 50 fucking years ago at this point. Like the 80s was like 1980 was almost 50 years ago at this point. The people that are in control in these positions now are post 80s mainstream academia neo-Marxist indoctrination. They actually do believe this shit. They didn't think they were being indoctrinated when they were going to Stanford or going to Princeton or anything like that, but they were. And they came out holding these ideologies as things they actually believe. Now, of course, there are people above them, people that have actually been trying to spread this, that know it's all bullshit, and they're just using it as a control apparatus. But the people that came out of these institutions, they actually believe it because they've been indoctrinated for the last 40 to 50 years to think this is the way the world should work.
Alarmism around not making these people happy. Now, I think that you started to realize that usually whenever these people are upset, it's not a boycott, it's a goycott. Nobody cares, it doesn't matter, and everybody that's angry and upset about it, there's really no effect that really has. So if you upset these people, you know, you saw this with how many video games where it's like, okay, well, you know, like, well, we're gonna own the chuds, and then nobody owns the game. And so that's really not a good way to keep your job, is it? Sure seems that way. Look at Bungie. So anyway, what happens is that people inside of, you know, HR departments and other types of administrative and influential positions at these companies use those positions in order to manufacture alarmism around the manufactured consensus. And I apologize, I'm using these words all the time, but I just want to make sure that I make it completely clear that none of this was organic.
This is completely irrelevant. The latter ones believe the latter ones believe this. The newer ones, I think you mean the older, not the latter, because the latter would be the newer generations. But it doesn't matter. The newer generations are not the ones in control. The new generation, because you're right. There's a new generation that is becoming more, I don't know, radical. I mean, some of them are absolutely, but at least becoming more like right wing, moving away from this ideology. But they're young. They're not in control, so that's irrelevant.
And none of this was done because people wanted it. Nobody actually wanted any of this. This was forced on people, and it was done so by the unholy matrimony between mentally ill advertisers, or sorry, well, there's that too, mentally ill activists and cynical advertisers that are trying to cater to the lowest common denominator of capitalism, and failing massively, by the way. You can see that with Bud Light. So anyway, all of this has happened. These companies now are then taking away partnerships, they're taking away advertising, and they're changing the ways that they want their stuff broadcast and their stuff advertised. And that causes these companies to create a culture around basically playing it safe. They don't want to take any risks. They want to make sure that nobody does anything wrong. And they also don't want to attract the negative attention to.
The left is at least consistent with their moral relativism and their death cult ideology. The right pretends to have morals, but never did. Well, I think, first of all, left and right is the incorrect way to frame this. Because I more or less agree with what you're saying, but you're framing it incorrectly. Because you're using the left and right as catch-all terms when there's multiple subsects within the right. The left is consistent. The right is not, because the right has multiple different subsects. To be fair, the left does as well, but because they eat their own far more and they excise those that are not consistent, those people end up finding themselves in the center, on the right, disaffected liberals, whatever. So really what you're trying to say is liberals and conservatives. And now I agree that that conservatives are morally inconsistent, and that's because anyone that's not a liberal is by default conservative these days, which obviously is not true. To be a conservative requires, well, one of two things. You got to be a fiscal / governmental conservative, or you can be a moral conservative, which, you go by Christ-like ideologies, things of that effect. Whereas fiscal and government style conservatives are just about small government. The rules and whatnot don't really matter as long as the government's small. So, but again, I get what you're saying. It's just there's more to it than just using left and right.
The media class and to the activist class, because if you attract negative attention from them by not doing what they want, then they manufacture.
This is not true. People are not inherently moral relativists. No, if you adhere to any sort of religious ideology, then you are not a moral relativist because you believe in objective moral values. So this is flat out wrong.
Manufacture conspiracies, they try to create negative sentiment about you, and then they call you, like, I mean, nowadays, right? I mean, how many people are being called a Nazi? It's like, oh yeah, I'm not seeing your point of view, I guess I'm a Nazi now, right? That's the way that the world works. And fundamentally, I think this was very effective. Now, anybody that plays Classic WoW knows that if you cast the crowd control on an opponent too many times, it begins to have what you would call diminishing returns. And I think at this point, it's basically just on the immunity stage. But for many, many years, this was an effective way of shutting down conversation. Sexist, racist, misogynist, like Nazi, far right, etc. All of these terms were used as buzzwords in order to allow that media class to pressure the advertising and the business class, to pressure the social media class, to pressure everybody else to adhere to their ideology and their language. And that's exactly how it happened. And I think that let's talk about, and obviously this just kind of got worse and worse and worse and worse. And the reason why it got worse and worse and worse is actually something that's very much a parallel of what's happening with the Democratic Party right now. The Democratic Party is going through what I would say is basically a civil war. This is kind of similar to the Tea Party happening in like the late 2000s and maybe the early 2010s in the Republican Party. But I would view this to be slightly different because it's much more existential. You had people that were not really involved in any of these things because they cared about them. They were involved in these things because it made them feel good. And this is something that's become
correct. Well, not only because it made them feel good, like that is a part of it, but it made them feel like they had something they're fighting for. Humans crave strife. Humans need strife. Like, that's why working out is so good for you, because there is a resistance there. There's a physical resistance. You are putting strain on your body and your mind to do a thing that is difficult. That's the reason why, like, you feel accomplished after you clean your house, because you took the time and effort to do something difficult that had a good outcome. Anything that has a quote unquote good outcome should require some sort of work to do so. And like, when you've got an entire generation that grew up without seeing any real struggle, like, oh yes, I get it, we had like the war on terror and shit, but let's be real, the war on terror, look at how many people have died in that compared to like fucking World War II of Vietnam. It's not even close. We've grown up in the most comfortable situation imaginable, that we live in an era of just instant gratification. So people, specifically these, moral leftists and whatnot, that are trying to demoral fag over every right and wrong word and social ill and whatnot, is because they are craving strife that humans crave, and they will not do anything on the small scale, work out, clean their own room, whatever it may be. It's the old Jordan Peterson adage, to invite that livable strife in their life, to give themselves some sort of sense of accomplishment or whatnot. It's like, you need to introduce something difficult or multiple things difficult into your life to have that life be worth living. You can't do that on the macro scale and expect that you're just going to have the same sense of satisfaction. It doesn't work. You need to start with the micro and then work up to the macro if you actually do believe in it.
More and more obvious is that many of these companies and many of these people are not really adopting these social causes out of any sort of like real genuine intention or real genuine care. They're adopting social causes as social accessories. They're using their pride flags, their Palestine flags, and their trans flags, or like their coexist bumper stickers. They're not using these as actual pieces of advocacy. They're using them as social accessories so they can signal to other people that they're a good person.
True.
So what the point of that is that there actually is no real kind of end goal. There's no ideology, that there's no light at the end of this tunnel. There's no North Star that these people are working towards. And that's the reason why the ideology continues to self-radicalize. It's because it was never about ever doing something and achieving something and meeting a goal. It was manufacturing consent, enforcing that consent and that permission structure on the entire population, and then feeling like a good person for doing it. And that's the most important thing. It's not because of the people. It's not.
And that's why you have these dumb white blonde bitches after Zoran Mamdani gets elected. Yes, a communist Muslim, because both of those groups are so well known for their great treatment of women, talking about excitedly how they can't wait for Sharia law to be introduced in New York, because they don't understand a goddamn thing. It just makes them feel good in their inside feely parts.
Because of the people they're trying to help, it's because the main person they want to help is themselves, and they want to help themselves feel better. And that's the reason why it's become more and more radical. And I think that it was generally tolerable in 2014 to 2019.
It was not. It was not tolerable. You just didn't know how bad it was. I'll be real. I do not think Asmongold knew how bad it was. Most people didn't. Unless you were terminally online, unless you were on 4chan, unless you were on, in those Gamergate forums and whatnot, like where all this really came to a head, unless you were actually involved in that and saw what was happening, it wasn't tolerable. You just didn't know it was there to realize you shouldn't be tolerating it.
COVID really sent it into a, I guess, pun intended, a fever pitch, right? And it really got a lot worse. And the reason why I think it got a lot worse is actually very simply because you had everybody staying inside, companies are spending infinitely more money, and I think obviously you had social unrest and everything else. And what happened is that these people just continued to self-radicalize, and because so many people were being involved and basically swept up in the movement, it accelerated the progression of the movement to the point where you couldn't even say that there were two genders anymore. And I think this happened. The reason why it stopped actually wasn't that people got tired of it.
I could be wrong, and maybe I'm misremembering. I don't think Asmongold rooted for Zoran Mamdani. I think he acknowledged the truth about Zoran Mamdani, which is he was a great leader in the way that he is great at rallying support, getting support, telling people what they want to hear. Now let's be real. It was absolutely artificial. He came out of nowhere, no funding, no one knows who he is. It's basically Obama 2.0. But just like Obama 2.0, they found a useful idiot who is a populist, who is great at speaking to the people, telling them what they want to hear. And Asmongold acknowledged all those positive things, at least positive in terms of the eye of the media about Zoran Mamdani. And he was correct about that. Now, whether what he said, he liked him, he liked Zoran because he said the right things and didn't know anything about. And again, that is true, to be fair. Zoran did say the right things. Now, again, that doesn't mean he was good in any way, shape, or form. But liking the way someone speaks and liking their actual policies and stuff. Now, again, I don't actually know what I don't recall what Asman said about Zoran in terms of policies, but everything he said about Zoran Mamdani, I would say about Obama. Obama was the worst president in our American history, and maybe Jimmy Carter. Point is, Obama is in the top 5 list of worst presidents we've ever had. I'm also not going to sit here and pretend Obama was not a great speaker who was able to capture the hearts and minds of the people because of his speaking ability, despite the fact that every single policy and plan he had for this country was objectively dog shit. And yeah, Vagabond is correct. Hitler, incredible speaker. Hitler was an incredible speaker.
Of it. It's because one person got tired of it, and that person was Elon Musk. I do think that it was a timeline shift when Elon Musk bought Twitter. I think that if Elon Musk had not bought Twitter, we would probably still be living with the COVID era censorship, and it would probably be continuing to get worse and worse and worse because those people still controlled all the levers of power. They may be stupid, they may be delusional, they may be selfish, but they
I'll agree to this. Obama second, Carter first. Yeah, Carter was probably the absolute worst, but Obama's top 5, maybe even number 2.
Organized, and they also do have a decent understanding of political theory and at least institutional capture to the extent that they can apply it and use it to their advantage. And I think that's commendable. I just wish they would do it to something that wasn't destructive. So the point that I'm making is that COVID, I think, accelerated all of it. Elon Musk buying Twitter was like a crack in the dam that unlocked basically everybody's freedom of speech. And you went from not being able to say that there were two genders to only talking about which race is the best race. And that's a really big change.
Now, as far as which race is the best race, I mean, guys, I think we all know the answer to that. Yeah, white people. Am I right? Obviously, we know the best race.
The Overton window didn't shift, the entire building got bulldozed, and you built it somewhere else. So in the entire world, I think this was probably the biggest, or internet world, this was the biggest shift in terms of, like ideology, in terms of behavior and everything, is when Elon Musk ended up buying Twitter. So he buys Twitter, everybody can say whatever they want. And then also at that point, Elon said, well, I don't need advertising. And that's the reason why Twitter, I think, has freedom of speech.
Well, unfortunately, Twitter did need advertising because they were already in massive debt when Elon bought them. And he bought them at a loss. He bought them for more than their debt was even worth, which is crazy. But it was necessary for the free speech to function and to be able to get out there, for it to be the public square and have people not be censored and whatnot. It did need advertising to get itself out of the red. However, the lack of advertising and what Twitter and now X, because I don't call it Twitter, it's fucking X, stands for, is more important than making money. And it's funny because that's such a fucking like commie bullshit thing to say. Oh, so and so is more important than making money. And normally I just trounce all over that ideology. But when X is the only place on the internet where you can speak freely as anyone that is not to the left of Bernie Sanders, then yeah, at some point it is less about whether or not there's money involved. And I hate that that's true.
The more that these companies allow advertising, the less freedom of speech that they will be allowed. And you could say that that's fair because companies don't want to deal with this kind of stuff and they want to be amoral. I understand that, but I think that we should also acknowledge that the genesis of all of this censorship is not simply social justice. It's actually just making money. And if it wasn't for capitalism...
So Future, they actually tried several conservative versions of Blue Sky. They had Gab. They had what was the other one called? I'm trying to remember the name of it. There was 2 or 3 of them, and they all got shut down, either not allowed on the Apple Store, or they ended up having to soft censor and bow and kowtow to advertisers, and basically the whole thing that made them quote unquote conservative went away. Parler, Parler was the one I was thinking of. Yeah, so you had Gab, you had Parler, none of Truth Social was never going to go anywhere anyway because that was literally just Facebook, but for MAGA people. So that one was doomed regardless. But yeah, both Gab and Parler. Gab was never even allowed in the App Store. Parler wasn't allowed on the Apple App Store, and then only eventually got allowed after they basically cut themselves and said, yeah, we'll basically be the same as OG Twitter, which at that point defeats the entire purpose. So no, because the companies that control what apps you can put on the App Store, Apple and Android and whatnot, didn't allow the conservative alternatives to Twitter.
Still have people spamming the N-word all the time. And how do I know that? Well, it's because every single website that isn't run based off of advertising and doesn't, depend on it, like 4chan, Twitter or Rumble, for example, all of these places have people saying all kinds of crazy.
I want to make sure I give props to whoever rated us. Hey, shout out King Alucard for the raid. Appreciate you. Appreciate the raid, King Alucard. Now you have Rumble. And Rumble's a little bit different. Rumble's not the same as Gab and Parler because it's a video site as opposed to like true social media, but I get what you're saying.
Things. So the moment that you give people a mask, they'll show you their true face. And I think that's also the reason why they want to use ways to identify people. This is why doxing is so effective. Doxing is also another effective way of doing things. And the reason why doxing is so effective is because doxing allows people to apply those consequences that they would previously apply to companies, to social media websites, which was a lot harder for them to do. Now all they have to do is achieve it with one individual person. And you see this also, the reversal of this with, for example, Charlie Kirk. You see people talking about like, oh, I'm glad Charlie Kirk died. And
they did a little bit more than dox Charlie Kirk, but I get what he means.
Then they get fired from their job, and these people were saying like, well, this isn't fair. I don't agree with this. Well, that's too bad. You shouldn't have been doing it for the last 10 years.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood what he's saying. He's saying that now the right wing, the right side of the aisle is using the leftist tactics like they did with Charlie Kirk. And you know what? I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. I am. I used to be diehard against it, being like, nah, we can't do what they do. We're supposed to be, nah, fuck that. This is war. Y'all did this shit. And frankly, there's a difference between saying like, yo, maybe don't cut the cock off a 12-year-old Timmy and get fired for that versus actively cheering for the death of an American citizen who's just out there practicing his free speech. One of those to me, far more valid as a fireable offense, because if you've got a dude in the office who's out there advocating for the death of people, that's the sort of dude that's going to be showing up to your work in a trench coat with an AR-15 after he snaps because his Reese's cups couldn't come out the vending machine properly. I don't want that dude in my place of fucking work. So yeah, someone out there advocating for the death of Charlie Kirk or anyone else, fire the motherfucker. Someone out there saying, don't harm kids. Maybe the boy can't be a girl. Maybe, hey, he's 6 years old and thinks he's a fucking toaster. So maybe don't trust him when he says he's a girl. That is a far more defensible position than cheering for the murder of a citizen who's just practicing their right to free speech.
So really what I think has happened is that now you have an environment where freedom of speech is more or less completely tolerated. And on top of it being completely tolerated, you have a shifting of the window of what is acceptable thought, the Overton window, that is happening faster and faster and faster. I think there's a force multiplier with this. And fundamentally, I wanted to let everybody understand and help everybody understand how these media companies and these activists are pressuring these companies to pressure other companies, news websites, social media websites, and everything else in between.
I gotta address this comment. Because you're wrong. You say we're forced to work for demonic companies. No, we're not. The companies are not demonic. This is me defending them. Being demonic is evil. A demon is unbridled evil. These companies are not evil. It is the banality of evil. They are not doing anything to stop said evil. Now, you can say that makes them, of course, evil by association, hence the banality of evil. But they are not actually demonic. They are just a company doing, going where they think the money is to maximize profits and whatnot, which, hey, that's how capitalism works. So it's not the companies that are demonic. The companies are not doing anything to stop the demonic machinations of these institutions, though, and of these people that run said institutions, of the World Economic Forum, and of the New World Order and things to that effect,
into making it to where you're not able to have freedom of speech. That is the main reason why it's happening. You're not losing your freedom of speech because of activists directly. You're losing it because of advertisers directly and activists indirectly that are working through, as a tertiary source, actually the media apparatus that they have ideologically captured. Whether this is video games journalism, whether it's real journalism, whether it's...
Anyone else think it's kind of funny that he separates video game journalism from quote-unquote real journalism? I don't know if he meant that as a joke, but that was fucking funny. Okay, BlackRock is the exception to the rule. Yes, BlackRock is pretty fucking demonic. I'll give you that one. Anyway, that was fucking funny.
Unfortunately, basically any type of media that's mainstream to begin with. And you're starting to see this receding. And I think it's almost pretty much gone. I think that you're going to need probably 5 more years of cultural institutional change. And in terms of the varying...
Kieran, this is some real retarded black pill shit. I'm gonna be real. If you actually think like this, if you're this black pilled, why continue? Why go on? Why watch this stream? Why continue living? This is obviously bullshit, by the way. When you say jobs don't pay for basics and housing, yeah, the vast majority of them do. The vast majority of people's problems with the economy is not the fact the economy is failing or these jobs aren't paying enough or whatever. It's because people are bad with money. They took out massive amounts of student loans for super easy fucking photocopying jobs and stapling jobs that are irrelevant and will eventually be outsourced or automated or whatnot. People taking out loans, people making bad personal finance decisions. Like the vast majority of people's financial issues is not because job doesn't pay enough. It's because they are bad with money. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. Obviously, there are 1,000% economic issues in this country, but a lot of it is self-inflicted.
Grained things like education, corporate environment, corporate policy, and let's not even get into the legal system in which these ideologies are codified into law. It will take a while to actually undo all of this, but we're very well on the path to that. And I wanted to show people kind of this cause and effect, because I think that a lot of people haven't really necessarily looked at it, and they're facing they're focusing their anger at these, I
don't know shit about minimum wage in Canada, but we actually talked about this. I think it was I threw this out on Saturday. I had notes on Saturday. Less than 2% of the American population, again, I don't know shit about Canada, less than 2% of the American population actually work for minimum wage. Less than 2% work minimum wage. 98% of America work above minimum wage. Now, to what degree? Obviously, that's going to vary. But the whole minimum wage isn't enough to sustain yourself or whatnot, I don't give a fuck about that argument because less than 2% of the population actually work for minimum wage.
Like weird social justice warriors on the internet. And I think that go ahead, be my guest, right? Do whatever you want to do. But those people are not fundamentally the ones that are making this happen. The ones that are fundamentally making it happen are the companies that are putting pressure on the websites, on the businesses, everything.
I'm talking federal minimum wage. Yes, Sebi, you're correct that they vary state by state, but there's a federal minimum wage. And I'm talking federal minimum wage.
To fulfill and conform to their ideology. And I do believe this is a situation that's kind of like nuclear weapons, for example. You cannot afford to not play the game. I think that if you want to control and you want to not have institutional capture, you have to engage in institutional capture.
Yes, correct. Correct, because you can go somewhere else. Chat roast this motherfucker. He's retarded. Said the West should fall. Fuck him. He's an idiot. He's retarded. The idea that you are owed this shit. No, There's a reason there's competition in the marketplace. You want to know what happened when a job I had didn't pay me enough or didn't pay what I thought it was worth or what I wanted or whatnot? I went to a different fucking job. I've never been jobless in my entire life for more than 2 months at a time. I've been working since I was 16. I'll be 32 this month or next month. And exactly a month, actually. My birthday's July 29th. It is June 29th. So I've been working for the last 16 years straight. Now, granted, I do this full time now. I've been doing this for about, actually, it'll be a year this coming month, doing this full time. But up until that, I've worked my entire life from 16 onward and never been without a job for more than maybe 2 months at a time. Opportunity to go wherever the fuck else you want is an insane, amazing freedom we have here in America that, frankly, there's a lot of commie countries don't have shit like that. You ain't gonna have what we have here in fucking North America. So, no, this is a retarded ideology. It's so easy to blow holes in.
A world where this weapon and this tool is not used, there's only a weapon where it's either you using it or it being used against you. And so my advocacy and my ask for everybody is that when you see people that are pushing for this kind of ideology, especially whenever they're doing it through vectors of commercial aspects, like, for example, advertising, you have to push back 10 times as hard.
Jobs only have the responsibility of the people that the people have to the job. Like Vagabond said, you sign agreements with these companies when you sign up. If you don't like what they are saying is their responsibility to you, then don't take that job. There is no moral fucking obligation for these companies to have a set of responsibilities to you. You can just go elsewhere. That's why it is a free market.
Because if these commercial places realize that these things are losing money, you're going to start seeing all of these people, their entire power structure completely evaporate. Because
you know that even Friedrich Nietzsche, the father of nihilism, disavowed nihilism, right? Oh, I'm nihilistic. Then you're an idiot because your entire worldview was disavowed by the individual that founded said worldview. You dumb motherfucker. You are not a nihilist. You're a pseudo-intellectual. The late plug of Muddy Waters, the 5-banger. Leon's right. I could be saving money for a light bill, but instead I'm sitting this super. People are irresponsible with money. Well done. That deserves a fucking clip.
Name one word that starts with G pronounced like J. Gentrification. Shoot, should have thought of that. I was just in San Francisco.
Fucking shout out. Thank you, Muddy Waters.
Power structure is actually maintained and enforced by capitalism. And it's not just by capitalism. I'm a big capitalism enjoyer, but I would say it is by bad faith.
Yeah, there we go. Go mine cobalt in Africa. Go mine cobalt in Africa.
Intelligent, uninformed capitalism that is being done by the lowest common denominator. And those are the people that you really should be looking at as your enemy. Those are your enemies, because those are the ones that are cutting the checks, that are forcing the ideologies, and they're doing it from the top down. And
no one knows the thing. No one knows about wasting money more than I do. I gifted a $100 game to a black friend only for him to forget I donated to him, and he's about to buy it again. Truly a waste indeed. Yo, I aspire to be this level of petty, bro. Like I was talking last night about how petty Clint Eastwood is because he refused to work with Coca-Cola because Coca-Cola did not because the people behind Karate Kid, which had a massive Coca-Cola sponsorship, refused to cast his son and cast Ralph Macchio instead. So Clint Eastwood vowed to never work with Coca-Cola ever in his life. I thought that was a level of petty. But then I see Hypno, bro. And I've known Hypno for like 3 years now. Hypno be one of the pettiest motherfuckers I've ever met. It is a thing of beauty.
yes, they're being influenced by the bottom, but it's the top that is making this decision, and it's these people that are fundamentally pulling the levers of power and changing things institutionally and making it to where you don't have a voice. And the reason why I want to make this video is that I think that a lot of times people don't really understand that. They don't see how these things have manifested, and they don't understand, they can't construct and deconstruct how all of this has come together. I've been on the internet for 25 years. I've seen all of this happen myself. I'd be curious to hear what other people's comments are in the, in the comment section. But fundamentally, I think that we really do have to be more out.
I always find comments like this hilarious. Capitalism is fucking dead, and I don't know why anyone supports a viable path forward. A, give me a reason as to how it is dead, and B, give me a viable alternative. If you say it's not a viable path forward, then give me a viable alternative. Spoiler alert, there ain't one. Capitalism, all capitalism is is a system of free market, where you, as the person providing a goods or service, gets to trade said good or service to somebody else at the discretion of both parties if they think that it is a valuable good or service. That is all it is. That is all capitalism is. Anything else that you would need to add to that is a function or a system of governments or whatnot that are manipulating said market and said economic ideology, not the economic ideology itself. And I good goddamn guarantee you don't have an answer for either of those things, at least not one that would actually work.
Outspoken. I think that with video games, the last thing I want to talk about is that with video games, I think that we've done an incredibly great job. You have many of these different companies that are going back to McDonald's, they're going back to being Applebee's servers, and no shade to any of the people that do those jobs, but fundamentally they're simply not much of a creative job as making a video game. And I really think that what you have to have happen is you have to have even more of these points on the graph in order to have companies be able to see that there's a very clear line. And I think that's...
That's where Asmongold's wrong. The companies know there's a clear line. Again, these people that spend tens of, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in marketing, they're not stupid. They obviously know what the ideological normalcy is, at least amongst the American populace. Now, you could say it's different, for Europe or whatnot. It really isn't. They just, shut down the voices that are the dissenters, which are the majority, like what you see in the UK, what you see in France, things to that effect. Definitely what you see in Australia. Like, we are a vocal majority. But that vocal majority is suppressed by larger systems, and so it does not look like a vocal majority. That being said, if you look at specifically America, and let's be real, many of these companies are American, and they make the most amount of their money cumulatively in America. They know what the ideological sentiment is. They are being pressured and given reasons outside money, more important reasons than them outside money, to continue propagating this ideology.
Beginning to happen. If you look at, for example, a lot of the new video games, you see a lot less ideology that's being imposed into these video games. And I think that you're starting to see it with movies as well, especially whenever you have movie after movie that prioritizes identity politics, ideology, or some other form of message over actually appealing to their customers. And the best way that you can show people that that is a bad idea, there are two things. Number one, vote with your wallet. And number two, vote with your voice. Tell people the way that you feel, express yourself, and do it loudly. Because if you do it louder than other people, then people are going to listen to you. And
just yelling at people for a living. Correct. Because there's a market for it. Clearly, there's a market for it. Yelling at people for a living. That means there's a market for a myriad of things. If this was not viable, if this was not sustainable, I wouldn't be doing it. Assuming you're talking about me and or Asmongold or anybody that streams, for example. Because you may have had a comment there I missed. But I'm just going to take this as, oh, you're basically yelling at people for a living. Correct. Because clearly there's a market for it. There are people who are willing to pay for said service. That is capitalism. That's capitalism at its most beautiful. I am absolutely benefiting from the idea of capitalism. We've got people in chat right now who are like, you know what? I find value in what Leon and or Asmongold has to say. Here is money for that. Correct. If it was not a viable if it was not a viable job or whatnot, then there would not be a market for it. It's that simple.
This isn't a world where you can just abstain. This isn't a world where you can just say, well, I'm just simply not going to do that because I don't agree with that. If you don't do it, they'll do it to you. And that's my real, I want people to understand this. And I understand it might be a cynical pill to swallow. And I get that. I understand that. But I think that it's true. And if you don't think it's true, just wait and see, pay attention, listen, and just look around. And I think that you'll begin to realize that.
Why is something true or right without appealing to a subject? You're in it again. Objective moral values. Objective moral values, because there is a creator, because there is a deity, and there's an omnipotent being that created the system in which we live in. The fine tuning of the universe would be mathematically impossible if the what was it? The weight of gravity, if the effects of gravity were off by even a single degree, the idea of life in the entire known universe is literally impossible. If it were off by 1 degree, by the way, there's about 10 different categorizations of the fine tuning of the universe. I just gave you one. It is almost statistically impossible for there to not be a divine creator. And if there's a divine creator, that means there's a divine set of objective moral values. It would be whatever those moral values were that came from said creator that created the universe. It is very, very philosophically basic shit. Like that is stuff that you learn in philosophy 101.
That's really the path forward. So I wanted to explain and talk about that. I hope you guys all watched and enjoyed it. And I'm curious to hear what people's comments are in the comment section below. So thanks all for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.
Good video from Asmongold. I was correct in the beginning when I said he is not going to go into the academic aspect of it. There's the link. Make sure to give it a like and whatnot. But yeah, he didn't go into the academic aspect. He didn't go into the history of it. Now, whether it's because it wasn't really necessary to the video or because he doesn't know, I'm not sure, nor does it really matter in the grand scheme of things. At the end of the day, yes, this system, it seems to be self-correcting, but at this point, it is a war. Well, maybe not self-correcting, actually forced into correction, but it is a war of attrition. What is going to happen first? The market corrects based on the whims of the people, or they cash out all their chips and go live a life of luxury while the rest of us starve because they are about to institute a one world government where we will live in the pods and eat the bugs and we will be happy. Shout out, thank you for the jewels, Draconic. I appreciate you. Which one of those comes first? I don't know. But I think that at this point, they played their hand too fast, too loose, too quickly. And many people are waking up to it, have woke up to it. And you're going to basically see the system forced into self-correction. That doesn't mean they're just going to, the people in charge is going to stop. There's a reason that the idea of, DEI is more or less on the back burner. It's gone away. It's not actually gone. It's just being repurposed, repackaged as bridge. They're pushing it back out. They're biding their time. They're changing terms. That way they can re-roll this out again to try their plan again. But at the end of the day, there is self-correction. Or again, I actually think it's more forced correction. Runaway Vagabond with a 5-banger. I had the free will to not give Leon this 5. No banker told me I could or couldn't do it. I just support because I like what Leon says. Shout out Vagabond. I like what he says too. So make sure you guys go watch. I swear it's not hentai. His Sunday show. Mods, make sure you drop that in the link below. Shout out. Thank you so much. Let's see. Let's give you a clip actually. Let's give one of my. You know what? On account of you being a better black than Atreus, because you would not have forgotten if Hypno gifted you a $100 game. I'm gonna give you this clip.
So here's the deal. Life doesn't always want to be your friend. Sometimes it'll feel like life wants to hurt you.
That was a downer.
But you can't just hide, because nobody likes a quitter.
Channel.
Your ass don't hurt.
I'll go first.
You gotta take chances.
This fire isn't gonna stop me.
They never said it was gonna be fun or easy.
Subscribe to New Black Street. Subscribe to Atreus. And yeah, I'll catch y'all next Saturday.
Shout out Vagabond. Thank you so much, homie. Appreciate you. Alrighty. Let's talk about this. I was gonna talk about the Rev stuff, but honestly, this is more important. Let me pull it back up. Where'd it go? Fuck, I closed out the tab. Let me get it again real quick. So I was gonna talk about the Rev stuff, and maybe we still will. It depends on how long it takes to get through this. But this is honestly more important than just bitching about fucking Stellar Blade again. United States forces entire internet to require age verification. The end of privacy.
Mark the end of the internet as we know it. The United States just snuck a bill under everybody's noses to basically force age verification, biometric scan, and digital ID on every single aspect of the internet. And so if this passes today, it's GG. And I don't normally ask this, but I'm asking all of you right now to please leave a like on this video and please comment and just share this video around. More people need to be aware of this situation because today is a make it or break it for the internet. Depending on how the voting goes in the House today will determine if the internet basically comes to an end. And so there is ways to potentially fight back against this today. You could call your representative, which I will talk more about in this video. But for now, please help share this video around for people who are aware of this situation.
Most people, well, all right, actually, most people are not aware of the situation. And those that were aware of it, many of which, it doesn't really matter. The will of the people is irrelevant when individuals in the government, like we were talking about with that Asmongold, are ideologically and or financially captured by those above that do want to force this. The idea that you can just vote or call your congressman or have an idea and just force them to not vote on this is a fool's errand. It really is.
This is actually happening. The entirety of the United States is about to force in age verification today. I'm not even joking. I just became aware of this late last night, and a bunch of people are becoming aware of this as well. You can see a lot of people slowly starting to recognize and kind of key in on what is going on here.
And what Nerdigan is saying is true. It passed the House, but a judge ruled Nebraska's age verification law is unconstitutional. Yeah, now there is a chance there can be appeals processes, and this not end up becoming a federal regulation. That is technically true. Don't really know that it will, but it's technically true.
It is not good. You have even politicians from Japan talking about this situation. So let's dive head first.
Politicians from Japan are talking about this because they know what comes for them next. Like, let's be real. Japan is a state wholly reliant on the U.S. It is. Japan would not exist in its current foundation if not for the U.S. We basically took them over post-World War II and turned them into America 2.0. Obviously, they're going to have some cultural differences, but at the end of the day, they are basically America 2.0. If this comes for us, it will come for them. And we've all seen Psycho-Pass.
First into this.
And if you haven't, you're a fucking loser. You need to see Psycho-Pass.
So basically, there is a package of multiple different bills and laws and stuff that are passing through the House right now. And basically, there is going to be a vote to be able to pass this. And the bills within this package is being supported by bipartisan support, so to speak, this right here, which basically means that both political sides, Democrats and also Republicans, are both in agreement with passing this package of different laws. And this, in one law in particular, that is raising a lot of eyebrows, is the one that is basically KOSA, the Kids Online Safety Act, that will force age verification onto every single person within the United States. And
do not misunderstand. This is all by design with the idea of the government wanting a nanny state. And when I talk about the Uniparty, there's a reason I always talk about the Uniparty. The government wants to be a nanny state. The ideas of the individual who's conservative or the idea of the individual who's liberal are irrelevant. Let's specifically conservative. The idea of conserving government power. No, there is no possible way to conserve government power within a nanny state. It is literally an impossibility. Shout out to Benjamin. I swear to God, this ID thing started with our Trader King. Talking about fucking in the UK, Keir Starmer. I don't think it started there. He was just another useful idiot for the shadow government that is in control that is trying to force this to happen. Our founding fathers predicted this shit would happen, hence checks and balances. Correct.
Basically, to get into specifics, it will force every single platform to make sure and reassure that they know you're of age and of an adult.
When you said king, I thought you were like trying to be ironic and saying that Keir Starmer was your king because he effectively has more power than your actual king.
For instance, if a platform doesn't know you're an adult, they can theoretically get fined and get into a lot of trouble. So they're being forced to implement some form of safety rails or guards to prevent, basically young users being able to get on. In a perfect world, this sounds completely okay. But the thing here is that we have seen time and time again with the laws within like the UK and the EU that these online safety acts, the digital, IDs, biometric scans, and everything does the exact opposite of protecting people or even protecting kids. It puts everybody in danger. It puts your personal information out there, and it basically makes it to where everybody's at risk for potential data breaches or, just getting doxxed in general. It's not good at all. And so the point here is that this law is being pushed through the door under everybody's noses pretty much. It's just snuck under everybody's radar for the most part. And now it's at that point to where there's not really much you can really do but hope that there's people on the voting that do notice this and actually deny it. But this is literally happening today on the 29th. Like, today is Monday the 29th in the United States right now, and this is getting voted on. This is bad. Like, this is really, 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 really freaking bad. Like, this is basically the moment of, is it over? Is the internet...
Nah, the moment of is it over was actually the net neutrality stuff in like 2009, but fair enough.
Dead. That is pretty much what this is. So let's get into specifically what is being said here. So we have little over 24 hours to save the internet. The vote is being rushed to the United States House floor on Monday the 29th. Buried inside the Kids Act are provisions that will push online services to verify all users' ages, require government-directed moderation, policies for online speech, and even create new rules about private and encrypted communications. The bill has bipartisan support
in layman's terms, your VPNs. Like, again, just like how the UK wants to and is in the process of effectively making VPNs illegal, which good luck doing that. The funny thing is, there's always ways around this, and there will always be ways around this. The government can institute digital ID, absolutely. All you're doing is creating a black market. Like, all you're doing is creating a black market. There will be goods and services and ways around this. There will be, unencrypted, cell phones, or there will be, people out there who can still use some sort of like provider package or something that, akin to the dark web. Like, now, how far people want to go to get that, who's to say? Let's be real. The vast majority of people during Prohibition, they just didn't drink alcohol because they couldn't buy it. People that really fucking wanted it, they wanted it, and they found a way to get it. And the people that really wanted to make money, they found a way around the fact they couldn't sell it. Speakeasies, the whole nine. Needless to say, all they're doing is creating a black market for privacy. I think there's going to be some people out there that will, there will be rumble walled. Exactly. There's going to be things out there, and there will be people out there that will effectively create a black market for this.
Large corporate donors who have all a vested interest in eroding your privacy and freedom of speech. Similar bills have already passed in other countries, for instance, UK and Europe, and individual states, and led to ID scanning mandates. aka what's going on, for instance, with like Pornhub. You know how you can't access it without basically IDing yourself. More or less, this will become the entirety across the whole internet. Like, you'll have to ID yourself.
And let's be clear, the reason they are doing this is because they are terrified of the people knowing what the government's doing, left or right. It is irrelevant. Like, you would, I know a lot of people are going to make the argument. It's like, oh man, it's because the liberals or the left, they don't want the people to be able to see the crazy shit. No, it's both. I normally hate being it's both sides type of dude. This is absolutely both sides. Due to the freedom of the internet and the way it allowed it all to talk and congregate on a global scale, and we can see the fucking Muslims cutting the heads off motherfuckers in the UK, or we can see the Somalian fraud gangs happening in Minneapolis. Like, the free flow of information has been devastating for the government control apparatus, and this is their way of minimizing that, mitigating that, because now you can be tracked and you can be targeted at an institutional level, at a systematic level, for being the person that tries to bring freedom to the masses.
To access the freaking internet. And this will be, from my understanding, countrywide. It won't just be a specific state. It will be basically countrywide. Anyways, faulty AI moderation, the removal of encrypted messages, etc. If passed, some platforms will require ID scans
This is wrong, fourth wall guy. It's not that we let this happen by people not being informed voters. We let this happen by allowing too many people to vote. This right here is exactly why universal suffrage was a mistake. Universal suffrage was the biggest mistake we could have possibly made as a nation. And it was intentional. It was by design.
All users. Some may try to deploy faulty estimation technology that will randomly trigger and cause your accounts to either permanently delete or locked until you fork over an ID. These systems have been a disaster, where deployed in other regions, it led to many accounts losses and data breaches. So more or less what's being said here is that all these platforms will implement some form of like AI system to determine if you're an adult or not. And obviously we know that these systems are very poorly managed and they basically mess up all the time. And so there's going to be thousands, millions potentially of people that are going to get falsely flagged, and they're going to have to put their ID up to be able to identify themselves as an actual adult. And basically what this means is that, yeah, you've proven you're an adult, but now your information and where you live, your driver's license and everything, whatever you use to verify yourself, is now on that site. And you're trusting this random website with your personal information. I know I wouldn't, but that's basically what's going to happen. You want to access Wikipedia? Well, you need an ID for that. Oh, you want to access Google? You're going to need an ID for that. You don't want to watch a YouTube video to be able to save your grandma that's having some problems, basically can't breathe and you got to figure out CPR? Well, you need an ID for that.
And when you say the internet's already dead, I mean, you are correct. Dead internet theory is the thing. Over 70%, but it's a real thing. We've covered dead internet theory on Temple Haters. It's one of our very first episodes, in fact. The internet has likely been dead and more than 70% bots for nigh on 20 years now, if not longer.
That's basically what's going to happen here, is that you're going to need an ID just to be able to access the internet at any given moment to determine your age. This is disastrous, not just for the internet, but for privacy itself. And this is the domino effect that I have literally been talking about over and over and over again. This is that Shimonetta 1984 reality that we have entered into. If this passes today, this could be, I'm not even joking, the end of the internet as we know it. This is literally creeping.
Now, on the plus side, because you know me, I'm a bright side individual. I do see an opportunity here to bring back the Pony Express. Silver linings, am I right?
Towards that dystopian like future where you're no longer anonymous. You no longer could be, a different person online. You could just be anonymous and just do whatever you want. You will now have a face attached to everything you do online. This is absolutely scary because it's a complete invasion of privacy.
He's wrong, so has to go to the Senate and be signed by the president. Yes, however, now whether it goes to the Senate or not, I'm not sure. But if it gets to the president's desk, I wholeheartedly believe the president would sign off on this. I do. People can love Trump all they want. I wholeheartedly believe that Trump would, in fact, sign off on this. We've already heard Trump say things that are pro-censorship in this regard. We've heard him say things like video games cause violence. They need to look into that. We have heard Trump say all the old... Because you got to remember, Trump is not a fucking true blue right-winger. Trump is a mid-90s Democrat. And he has said all the same things about censorship that mid-90s Democrats did. Let's be real.
And the big thing that these companies want to do for you, or why they would want your information, is to be able to sell your data, but also be able to target you with certain ads and make profit off of you. Because let's just be blunt, we all know this. If you have been on the internet, you know that if certain websites track you and know what you're into, they will start throwing certain ads at you that you might be interested in. They figure out everything about you to be very predatory, to basically target you with certain ads or marketing, and they're going to go to an extreme level with this, especially if they know exactly where you live, your full name, your age, and everything. It's going to get a lot worse. And then that's not including, for instance, data breaches and selling your data to third-party companies or even countries at that. It's not good. So yeah, everything about this is just...
They don't even need to... Now, granted, that is the money-making thing. They're going to sell your data. That's how they're going to make the money, because obviously they're selling it. But they don't need to do that. How often do we have all these hacks? Like, there's people out there that are going to want that shit for free, and it's going to get hacked. It's going to be taken. It's going to be used. It's going to be abused. The idea that this is their way of making money, which is absolutely what it is twofold. It is a way of making money, and it's a way to clamp down on our freedoms. Both can be true. There's always going to be those rogue actors out there. They're like, why pay for it when I can just fucking take it?
Bad freaking news. And the scariest part about this is that this is bipartisan. I want to reiterate this. This means that it's a both sides problem. This means it is Democrats and Republicans both coming together and being like, this is good. And when you have two political parties that are always at each other's throats, wanting to basically completely topple the other, coming together to agree on something, this ain't good. And I've been talking about this over and over again, that both sides want to censor the internet. Both sides want to kind of usher in complete surveillance and knowing what you're doing at any given time, because it means that they will be able to control the narrative, be able to censor you, and know what you're doing. I mean, we've already seen the dangers that this causes within the UK, within Europe. I mean, we've all seen it. We know what's going on in Europe. For instance, if you want to talk about illegal immigration, for instance, in Europe or UK, they will send police at your house or potentially censor you. You'll get a fine or whatever. They're more concerned about that than actually fixing real issues or, addressing things to try to fix things. And that's what's going to happen here. And so I think that this is a massive attack on freedom of expression, free speech, and also just your privacy itself. This is horrible.
Oh, your privacy is an extension of your freedom of speech. And like the idea that you can say what you want is due to our privacy laws, or really our privacy laws. It's actually inverted. But the fact of the matter is, the reason we have these fundamental freedoms is in part due to our privacy. The fact that you have the right to your own land, your own private dwelling, that no one is entitled to that information. Like, you can say whatever you want in the closed door of your home. You might not necessarily be able to say that same shit at work, but you have that private place that you can say and do whatever. You could do that shit in public as well. There's no laws against it, but there will be consequences for it, or could be consequences for it.
And the craziest thing about this is that this legitimately was slid under everybody's noses, and not many people have become...
It really wasn't. To be fair, and like it really was not slid under everybody's noses. This information was publicly available for ages. I've talked about it ad nauseum. Chibi's talked about it ad nauseum. It's whether people want to do their own fucking research, whether people want to do the bare minimum to just look into it. I will not accept the idea that this was snuck in as a thing. Oh my God, you are so needy right now, Kitty. I will not accept the narrative that this was just slid in under people's noses. This is a problem of the laziness of the average human. Is he not talking about this? But no, with this specific case, even that was not the case. If Chibi's been talking about this for months, if I've been talking about this for months, if this has been all over X for months, then it was not slid in under people's noses. We have had this information publicly accessible for months now, which goes to show that people are just lazy. They don't care.
Aware of this until literally today. That's insane. Like, that's so freaking insane to me. So, yeah, honestly, guys, the only thing you can really do at this moment is what Earl Manser actually posted here is to contact your representative on all that right here, which I will link this in the description. Please contact your representative for your state to basically not allow this to happen. It's honestly the only way to be able to stop this, but it's so late. For instance, it's literally today. I don't even know if it would work. In the time you guys see this video, maybe the votes have already happened and it's already passed. Maybe it got denied. Hopefully it did. But yeah, I'm sounding the alarm here because this is a red flag. This is basically everything, the build up from like last year with Kids Online Safety Act and everything that has been built up to this very moment. And it's finally here. It is finally here, and it's packaged in so many different bills to make it look like if you try to shoot this down, you seem to not care for kids' safety. That's what they're doing here, because I want to really showcase the maliciousness of how it's just very disingenuous. They're naming this, for instance, the Kids Act and all that. They're like burying it in a title like that. So basically, it looks really bad if you're against this. If you're against this type of stuff, you legit don't want to protect kids. That's what this looks like, and it shuts down any counter argument or any dissent or any politicians that want to speak out about this. It makes them look bad. Optically, it makes them look bad. And so it's going to make it to where they're going to lean heavily on just supporting it, not to look bad optically. Because let's be honest, it's all about optics. That's what people view things as. And so optically, they're going to vote for this because they don't want to be viewed like someone that doesn't care about kids. So yeah, just, oh my God. Like, I really hope there's some sensible people at the House today in the United States when they vote, they shut this down. Please. Hey,
catch you later, Lord Dragon. Have a good rest of your night. Yeah, well, obviously this video was made earlier, and we know how it ended up going down, and unfortunately, it was, well, yeah, the kids had already passed. That's why, that's why I paused to let you know. This video was from earlier before it passed. And again, passed in the House, but again, I mean, I'm not a black pilled individual. I'm not going to say there's no way out. This very well could be overturned by the Supreme Court. This very well could be ruled unconstitutional. I don't necessarily know that it will. Let's see. Uploaded, looks like it passed. Yeah, it did pass. We're looking at some old this did pass. We'll if Chibi just uploaded, we'll take a look at his new video next.
Please don't let this pass. Please don't let this pass. I really
and to give you guys it was voted in favor by 218 Republicans, 212 Democrats, one independent, one vacancy. So yeah, that's where we're sitting with this. Whoops.
Really hope that this does not pass and that we find out like later today, this gets shot down. Please. I will leave it at that, though. I wanted to bring this up because this is, if we find out today if this passes or not, I will make a follow-up video. So stay tuned to that. But with that being said, please subscribe, leave a like on the video, help spread this and all that because more people need to be aware of what's going on.
This was the initial video. I'll go ahead and send you guys the link, and then we will check out his most recent upload. Let's see. And bingo, bingo, bingo. The internet just died. United States law to force age verification passed with no pushback.
Face real harm online.
It passed. It passed. This is official representatives for top Democrat. We have, Republicans as well, all in support of this bill that was, called the Kids Act that I covered earlier this morning. It received overwhelming amount of support, bipartisan support from both political parties, Republicans and Democrats.
The funniest fucking part about this, my state, my overwhelmingly red state, only 2 people of our of all of our congressmen, which we have, how many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. 8. We used to have 9. Did we lose a? Anyway, 6 Missouri Republicans voted yes. Our only 2 Democrats are the ones that voted no. Our only 2 Democrats are the ones that voted no. Isn't that fucking funny?
267 people voted to basically be against freedom of expression and speech online, and 117 were patriots that tried to stop this from happening, but obviously there wasn't enough votes to counter it. So the House has officially decided to move forward with basically forcing age verification, biometric scanning, in any form of way to verify your personal identification online. And this will affect the entire internet. The fact that this even passed the House is pretty damning, especially with how overwhelmingly one-sided the votes were. Like, it wasn't even close. Like, the fact that it has 267 votes and then only 117 fought against it pretty much showcases that this is being pushed through, and both parties are very happy to push this through. And now next up is for the Senate to decide if this becomes law or not. There's a little bit more steps after that, but overall, the fact that this made it so far through and both sides pretty much came to an agreement, I think is indication enough that we are actually witnessing the death of the internet as we know it. Like, the ability to be anonymous, the ability to have your own privacy, we are legit actually witnessing this happen within the United States.
Because there is no money in it. I mean, again, there will be when this creates a black market if it passes fully and completely. Again, in the Senate, it gets signed by the president, the whole 9. So the only money to be made on privacy will be that of a black market. But there's more money to be made selling data, selling your information with these, private corporations, the whole 9, than there is off like VPN companies and whatnot. So that's what it boils down to, is not only is it a control apparatus, we've already talked about, but also it's just a financial thing. It's a monetary thing. At the end of the day, everyone bows and kowtows to money. They create the problem, then sell you the solution. Exactly.
The only hope that we can have at this point now is that the Senate literally shuts this down completely. There's always a chance, but it is really scary, the fact that over 260 people voted for this, and it was just this one-sided. But this is pretty scary. The fact that we're seeing the same exact speech that we see within the UK being used from these different representatives and politicians within the United States, saying the exact same words, like echoing the same thing of think of the children, protect the children, but we all know that is not what this is about. Everybody with a working, functioning brain knows that this is how they get these laws passed, because they use the optics of think of the children, protect the children, and if you try to fight back against it, they're like, you're a weirdo not wanting to keep children off the internet. But obviously, the real
anybody that wants to keep children off the internet are fucking retarded, by the way. If you want to keep children off the internet, and I say this all the time because it's worth bringing up, if you want to keep children off the internet, you're a fucking idiot. Keeping children off social media is different than keeping children off of the internet. The entire world is on the internet nowadays. If you're a child, if you're in school, if you need to do a research paper, whatnot, the internet is a tool for that. It is a tool for learning, it is a tool for growth, it is a tool for everything. Now, mind you, I'm not saying the government should come in and institute digital ID for social media to keep kids off either. No, the obvious answer is it starts in the home. It starts with parents. The idea that, parents can't be fucked to do X, Y, Z, so they shove a tablet in little Timmy's face and then allow the government to nanny state over that tablet. Obviously, that is a fucking flaw with parenting today, and with our system not even acknowledging that parents can or can't or whatnot do that properly. But we need to differentiate the idea of the internet and social media. Wikipedia is not social fucking media. Random variety.com, where you go read news news about like the upcoming movies and shit, is not social media. If you want to argue, hey, kids need to be protected from child porn on Twitter, yeah, no, obviously I would agree. Guess what? That starts with the parent, not with the government doing it. In case that wasn't obvious, but it's just very important to do the distinction between social media and the internet. Now, mind you, this is for the internet as a whole. I'm not saying Chibi is wrong here. Just when people say, I've heard so many people in comments and YouTube channels and whatnot, hey, kids need to be off the internet. No, the fuck they don't. The internet is the world's greatest digital library. It is the Library of Alexandria of the modern times. Kids obviously need to be on the internet. Social media, not so much, but that's a job for the parents.
Reason is to open up the door to where they can now start implementing
YouTube is social media, though, because YouTube has so many social features. YouTube has so many social features that it is social media. By the way, by that logic, Steam is also social media. Steam has more social features than even things like fucking Facebook. Steam is social media.
Even more draconic laws to censor your speech or spy on you and even put you at risk potentially of doxing yourself. Like, let's get into this a little bit more of this. So basically, let's say in a perfect world that this law really is, the intention of it is to protect kids and there is no alternative, like methods of what they're trying to do with this. Like, for instance, they are truly trying to protect, kids from being on the internet. The problem here is that even if this is the case, these different sites, like for instance, Discord, Reddit, Wikipedia, Twitter, all, you get the point. You'll have to implement your ID or some form of biometric scan just to be able to access these sites. And can you legitimately trust these sites with your personal information after seeing continuous data breaches like with Discord?
Bro, I don't even trust my goddamn grandma with my personal information. Love her to death, but she an old bat that sometimes don't know her ass from a hole in the ground when it comes to all this digital shit. I ain't giving my grandma my personal information. Why the fuck would I give the government my personal information?
Discord, for instance, earlier this year. No, you cannot. And the fact that, this is going to be implemented throughout the entirety of the internet is pretty horrifying, because this means that these littler sites, these sites that don't have a lot of money or infrastructure to be able to build probably the proper protections for you, might have massive data breaches and your information is just straight up lost. This is a doomsday scenario, honestly, for the internet. Like, this is actually a pretty dark day. Like I said, it isn't completely over. Like, the Senate can still shut this down, but the fact that they pushed this through the door with next to no pushback, and they kind of snuck it under everybody's radar till the day before this literally happened, really says what they're doing here. And I really hope that people...
Again, I have to disagree with his framing. Like, yes, hate the government, blame the government. I'm all for hating the government. I made pretty much my entire fucking personality on this godforsaken platform as hating the government. But you also gotta blame the people, because the people let this happen. They did. This is our collective fault.
Gain awareness of this situation and they fight back, because this is not about protecting kids. This is not about think of the children. This is about invading your privacy. This is about you basically no longer being anonymous online and basically doxing yourself, putting yourself at risk online. That is what this is, because they're going to be implementing, these different companies and sites are going to be implementing like age verification checks, most likely with AI, and we all know that can get stuff very, very wrong. And so let's say you're someone that has a dying grandma on the floor and that needs help, and you need to look up a YouTube video or something or a guide to be able to do chest compressions, to do CPR. Well, you're going to have to verify your age real quick. You're going to have to put in
the Blue Sky being exempt thing is in the UK. I don't know. They have not given like a list of social medias in America that would like fall under this. So I really don't know about that. As far as the American side, we don't have that information. But yes, Blue Sky was exempt in the UK. Why do you think that is? Why is Blue Sky the one social media apparatus that was exempt from this list of the 16 under social media or under 16 social media ban? It's because Blue Sky is an indoctrination tool.
Your ID, gonna have to scan your face, gonna wait till the AI checks it while your grandma's potentially dying on the floor. That's what I'm trying to get. That's a very extreme example, obviously, but what I'm saying is that stuff like this is going to cause a lot of harm. There is areas to where this can even cause people to die. I mean, very...
You're wrong, Nerdigans. It is not satanic panic Karens and their simps. It is every person who was too lazy to take a fucking look at this because they were tired from their long day at work and just wanted to come home and watch Netflix. That's the majority of people. You're in that regard, your gender, your race, what you do for living, none, your sexual orientation, your religious proclivity, like none of that matters. This is the fault of 90% of Americans the world over because they would rather go home and watch Netflix after they've worked at the gas station all day because they're tired than bother to figure what the fuck is going on in this country.
Extreme, a very, very extreme example, yes. But I'm just trying to say is that this is very damaging. It puts just so many people at risk. It puts, like, you know, people's information in the crossfire where it can be lost by these companies. It's bad. I absolutely shameful that this actually even passed. It is so sad that I even have to make this video and say, yeah, it passed with overwhelming support. So, yeah, I will leave it at that. I wanted to talk about this because obviously I told you guys I would give you an update depending on where the law went today, if it passed or not. And, yep, here you go. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but here we are. So the only thing we can do now at this point is contact your local representatives, like different Senate members that are going to be voting on this in the future, and tell them you do not want this to pass. That's literally the only way now at this point to counter this, because if we don't, it will probably pass through the Senate. So, anyways, you all have a fantastic day.
Don't get me wrong. I think you're a fucking idiot, but I don't ban. I don't ban unless you're underage, you're spamming, or you're putting shit in there that could actually get my channel taken down. Those are the only three things, because I am a free speech absolutist. I will allow just about anything. I think that you are a retarded individual, but I don't ban unless you're under 18. This is an 18+ channel. You're actually putting shit in there that will get my channel taken down because this is my main source of income. I do this for a living. Or B, you're spamming because frankly, ain't nobody want to read a bunch of goddamn spam.
Or night, wherever you live, be safe, stay healthy, Chibi out.
And with that, there's the video. Make sure you like it, give Chibi a sub. Look, man, like I said, I'm not a black-pilled individual. I'm not. I don't think that we are at the death of the internet. Not because this is good or this is okay, because this is fucked, right? This is fucked. And it's not exactly going to be easy to crawl our way out of it. But if you resign yourself to being black-pilled and think, oh, it's all over, whatnot, then what is there left to fucking fight for? Like, what is there left to live for, to fight for? Like, the whole nine. There's a difference between being a realist. You can be an optimist and be a realist, but I don't think there's any excuse for being a pessimist. I don't, because that does far more damage to your own mental faculties than anything else. I would rather be an optimist who has to acknowledge that, hey, reality is a thing, than a pessimist who has to acknowledge that reality is a thing, because one, in my opinion, is far more damaging than the other. That being said, I don't really have anything else to cover today. We were going to do the Stellar Blade stuff, but we're approaching the 2-hour mark. We would not be able to get through that video in 12 minutes, not with the way that I pause and talk. I know Cinny, but not with the way that I pause and talk. So we are going to go ahead and wrap the show here about 12 minutes early. I will see you guys tomorrow for Tinfoil Haters. Not entirely sure what we're covering yet. I'm going to talk to Sammy about it, talk to Cinny about it, and we'll be back tomorrow with Tinfoil Haters. Videos and streams almost every day. And with that, let me see who we are going to raid. Give me one moment here. Probably Sevi. I mean, it's probably Sevi. But just in case, I'll check and see who is live. Let's see. Redirect. LG. Yeah, no, we're just going to raid Sevi. I'm a good boyfriend. We're going to raid Sevi. I see how many of y'all are watching live right now. 124 of you live right now. That means I want to see 124 of you go say Vital Idol raid to the greatest girlfriend that the dude can have. I will be doing the same thing over on Kick. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Deuces. Oh, and by the way, thank you so much for the donos and whatnot. Again, I never want to forget to say thank you for that. Like, this is, I've got the greatest job in the world because of you guys. It's amazing. June has been a pretty good month so far. And hopefully we play more Dream Daddy on Sunday. See ya.